Space, the final frontier. Space Station Asselin sits on the edge of Federation space with its companion ship, the USS Dilamus Christian. The space around them is full of mystery and strange wonders, where secrets are kept and danger lurks around every corner. The crew of the Dilamus Christian must navigate treacherous waters as they work to protect the Federation. But as they peer into the unknown, they will discover that the line between friend and foe is not always clear. They will be tested like never before and will face challenges that will push them to their limits. Join us on this adventure as we explore the farthest reaches of space and uncover the hidden truths that lie within the shadows. Tabletop Journeys presents Star Trek: Preservations. We are back. So you're going to be docking at Space Station Asselin. You have noticed that their docking pylon assignment is automated now. At the con is Arvik, and they are asking if you have any preference on which docking pylon you would like him to take.
Whichever is by the book, Mr. Arvik.
So, we were probably the furthest out. I don't think that we're late to the party, but there are 7 ships reported as being docked right now. There are 6 ships being reported as docked right now. We would be ship number 7. We would take pylon number 7.
Yep.
Anything else as a crew that you guys want to do before disembarking? You get the kind of the automated "Welcome to Space Station Asselin. Please enjoy your stay" kind of thing.
Asselin welcomes you.
Exactly. Anything else that anybody would like to do before we disembark the DC and head into the station?
Just inform the engineering crew this time, don't take anything offline this time.
What if we have to do the work that you've assigned us?
We shouldn't have to this time. We did the last time.
Oh, do we only reboot it like once every other maintenance cycle now? Is that a new policy, Commander?
Duncan has probably already taken 3 panels off and is basically disassembling something.
Yeah.
It's just that when we take stuff online, we get invaded.
We can try to stop that instead. We're not the bad guys here. Bonnie's just rolling her eyes like, commissioned people. All right, Rila, I'm going to go ahead and toss to you to start here. So you said that the experiments in the bio lab, in the hydroponics lab, were interesting to you. So they're doing this. So what's being published as coming out there is this interesting sort of DNA hydroponic plant type work. There are other scientists in there. You see a variety of uniforms because, again, there's a bunch of ships in the area. How do you go about introducing yourself?
I'll introduce myself as very curious. I'm very open. I want to be I'm very approachable science officer, just visiting from the Dilamus Christian, and I just want to see what's happening. I'm very curious, excited to learn.
A very kind of cheerful Denobulan comes over and says, "Yes, I am Lieutenant Commander Thavek. I am the station science officer. Welcome. We love having folks who are out there mixing it up come and see our little experiments here." Not quite as enthusiastic as maybe the ship captain with the Minnesota accent, but certainly cheerful. He seems older, swept back, silver hair. He has a plant wrapped around his arm, and the frond of it seems to be like swaying with the wind, and almost as if it's like it's like, if it were like a snake, you would think it was like sniffing, right? But it definitely seems more animated than the average plant.
Okay. I'll
Um,
ask him to show me around if he has
absolutely.
time.
Yeah, I'd love to. And he starts showing you the various kind of terminals, talking about the photonic nutrient arrays that they're using and how they're trying to extract certain DNA markers from various cosmic radiation patterns that they're seeing, and trying to go ahead and infuse them into the plants to go ahead and give them extraordinary characteristics and everything like that. There is, so they're like walking you around to various stations, and there's one scientist that's kind of crouched over one of the stations, not getting like frustrated, but more like she's making observations and then scribbling furiously in a notebook, and then she'll kind of make observations scribbling furiously. And the gentleman that you're with, Thavek, kind of walks over and says, "Oh, this is Ensign Sustrin. Ensign Sustrin, what are you working on right now?" And she's saying, something about these observations aren't lining up. There's some sort of a photonic mismatch here that's affecting the growth beds. It's causing things not to work properly. Some sort of, I don't know. I'm not sure what it is. I really, honestly, sir, I could use a hand. And he looks to you and says, "Lieutenant, are you interested in getting your hands dirty?
Side quest.
Why don't you bid me some sort of a take a look and see what you can figure out? Some sort of like a sciencey observation-y challenge to see what we can get you here. Probably like science and insight or something like that."
Okay, but first, I want to know if using my empathy of her stress about it seems exactly as you described.
Sure. So empathy just gives you like a base reading on terms of, does her emotional state match what she's saying?
Yeah, actually.
Yeah, she definitely seems to be experiencing some sort of frustration about the fact that her experiment doesn't seem to be working. It's not like the results aren't expected. It's almost like she's having like she's frustrated about the fact that like the experiment isn't working, but she can't figure out why. And it doesn't seem to be related to what the experiment actually is, if that makes any sense. It's almost like it's like a hardware issue of some sort.
Okay.
So yeah, definitely matches what she's saying.
All right. So science insight.
Science insight, and this will be a difficulty 2 challenge to see. You've never dealt with this hardware before.
All right. I rolled double threes.
Rock on. Do you have a focus that would make those criticals, or are they just straight successes?
I have xenobiology. That's the closest, I think. Maybe forensic science, but that seems even further.
Yeah, maybe not in this case. Yeah. You did get enough successes to go. So you just don't get any additional momentum, but you did get enough successes to find out what's going on. And so as you're like looking through the results and talking to Ensign Sustrin about what the results should be and what she's expecting, it almost looks like there's some sort of a temporal desynchronization. It's like they're not something weird with sort of the, because he said that they're taking kind of characteristics from like radiation backgrounds and stuff like that and trying to infuse them. It seems to be causing some sort of a disruption to like the circadian rhythm of the plants. It's like they're not properly converting cell changes.
I love
Do you relay
this.
that?
This
Yeah.
is, well, sidebar, but if you guys don't know this, one of my big exciting research topics in real life is actually circadian rhythms. So
I didn't even know that. That's fantastic. So.
Crazy coincidence. I love it. I'll just ask some questions about that might lead me to get more information from
Sure.
how they're doing the experiment, what might have led to some of these discrepancies.
She says that they've been taking, again, radiant input patterns from background radiation at the station. And in this situation, it seems to be the plants are not able to properly align with the radiation input. The way that the ensign describes it is, it almost seems to her like they're expecting it to be noontime when it's only 11. And so they are opening themselves up to a full photosynthesis type operation, but there's no longer enough light input to support that sort of openness, and so it's causing them to malnourish. They're not properly receiving the light input that we're telling them to expect.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's almost it's almost like the coding is wrong. It's like the code that we're inserting is not correct.
Are there other similar experiments that are having the same issue?
So she kind of looks around and says, that station over there is also doing radiant plant input, and it's not having the same kind of issue. So maybe there's something in the code base between the two bays that's different. That's way above my pay grade. I don't know I wouldn't know how to diagnose something like that. Like I send that stuff to IT. So like, how are you with, I know the big, like fancy, like spaceship people. How are you with computers?
I could try poking around a little bit.
Yeah. Why don't you do that? Why don't you poke around a little bit? I would say that's probably more nearing insight, since you're actually trying to understand like the device or like the artificial intelligence that's driving it.
Okay.
You have 2 momentum. I'm not sure if you're watching the chart. There's 2 momentum available. There's also a bunch. We've got like 10 threats. You probably don't need to give me more. You can. I would not say no, but
what do I need to get to on this?
yeah, another 2. Yep.
All right. I'll use 1 momentum.
1 momentum. Uno momento.
And you said insight engineering?
I think insight engineering, yeah, since you're trying to go ahead and figure out how this is working. Yep.
3 successes.
3 successes. Rock on. So you gain the momentum back. How fun for you. So excellent. Yeah. So what you're finding is that, what's your general engineering score?
2.
Yeah, so not a super strong suit of yours. However, what you realize is that there is a difference in the code base that's running the bay that you're looking at versus the one that she's been operating at.
I have astrophysics.
Okay, that's close enough. Sure. So there are, in the stellar cartography world, there are what are referred to as drift snapshots that basically allow them to, over the course of parsecs and parsecs of distance, be able to go ahead and actually understand what's going on. They're basically files that calibrate across different distances. And because they're dealing with the radiant microwave background, which is super far away, you need one of these drift sequences to go ahead and help calibrate how to go ahead and do it. What you notice is that the 2 systems are using different drift sequence files. The one that is working is using one drift sequence file, and the one that is not working is using a different one.
I wonder how that happened. I'll ask them how did they develop these sequences and where did they come from?
There's an astral observation platform docked. We've been getting them from them. They can produce these files for us. But this is my station, Lieutenant. Like nobody would have changed it. But there's a log. Like if somebody's changed it, then we'd be able to trace back when and how it was changed. And so she pulls up the log files, and it was changed quite a while ago, like a month or so ago. It was changed from file STR-235A to file EBN 197K. She notes that the person that made the change is a Lieutenant Nami REZ, and Nami Rez is a science lieutenant that is currently on station. The other thing is that that sort of change also required, so it wasn't just like a singular change. It couldn't have just been changed by one officer. So it was like it was changed by a scientist, and it would have taken senior officer approval. So it's kind of like if you're submitting a code change, somebody else has to review the code change and say, yes, you can let this go through, kind of thing. And the approving officer was Captain Eben Thorne. Which, if you would like to, does that name sound familiar to Narila?
Probably not. Imagine that's even recently not very familiar.
Yep, fair enough. So that is the information as you have it. And then Lieutenant Sustrin says, that's weird. So it must be that the drift file has some sort of corruption in it.
Josh, real quick,
Sir, yeah.
is it the new file that is making it not work?
Correct. The new file's making it not work.
Is this about when the experiment started going awry?
To be honest, I've only been doing this experiment for a little while, and I've just never been able to get it to work. Again, we'd have to go back to some of the research logs to see if anybody else had been using this terminal. But for me, it's been for the last week or so.
Okay.
And that's just weird. Like, why? That's just weird.
I think I'll go find Nami Rez. Ask some casual, quiet, non-confrontational questions.
Yeah. How would you go about trying to locate the lieutenant?
Or just ask around. I'm sure someone will point me in the right direction.
That's not. She must be one of the visiting science officers. We see a report that she's on station, but she's not assigned to the station. She's another shipboard science officer. Would you like me to see which ship she's assigned to, so you can go? All the ships are assigned a docking pylon. You know where all the ships are.
Yeah, sure.
Sure. So one of the attendants in the science lab. Yeah, she's assigned to the USS Penumbra.
How long have they been here?
The Penumbra only came in recently. They came in for the new fleet captain's promotion, so they've only been here for about a week or so.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
So, anything else I can help you with?
No, I don't think so.
Well, as you're leaving, Lieutenant Commander Thavek grabs your hand and like vigorously shakes it, and thank you so very much. You, if there's anything ever that I can do to help you, you know where to find me. It's so wonderful when folks that are out there that see like real universe experience can come back and help us out in here. It gets a little contained in here sometimes. Fantastic. It would have taken us months to figure that one out.
Thank you for your hospitality and letting me come in and enjoy your wonderful science.
Anytime, please. If we ever catch you at the observation lounge, please. The first round's on me.
Thank you.
Mr. Tanari, let us slide over
Yes,
to
sir.
you. We were talking ahead of time that all the ships were on here utilizing shared deployment operations. Probably makes sense to go ahead and help deploy the enhancements that you've been talking about. How would you have gone about talking to or communicating that to the other chief engineers in the operational group? There's a mixer set up for the chief engineers, of course, also. But how would you have gone about convincing them to let you do this? I guess is probably the best phrase. How does Tanari think about this?
Probably would have beforehand sent a message out to the other ships discussing some of the upgrades, both in terms of the subspace shield modifications and the sensor modifications. And then just requested that once we all are physically together at Asselin Station, if we get together and discuss the modifications, and if anyone's had any problems, we can all get together and discuss them, and maybe talk about scheduling how best to synchronize changes and work across the battle group.
Sure, yeah. So anybody that has received the upgrade so far has not had any issues. It's not like their shield frequencies have inverted randomly or anything like that. So that's all been good. The sensors all seem to be working properly. They maybe don't understand exactly why you were upgrading them, but they haven't seemed to have any issues with them. And increased sensor resolution is increased sensor resolution at the end of the day. So,
question between you and me: these
Sure.
other ships have been. The Rutledge battle group is put together for the Epsilon protocols, correct?
Yes, because this was the battle group that was put together for Pritchard, but not everybody in the operational group was read in on what Pritchard was doing.
Okay, that was my next question.
So yes and no. Not everybody knows, and I think that there's some question right now about how much of the cat has been let out of the like Joe alluded to earlier, the attack on Asselin Station, and there's certainly been more and more events involving the Epsilon species that it's probably not as secretive as it once was. There's also the issue where the ships were pulled into the operational group by Pritchard, who's now been unceremoniously thrown out. There's that too, where he was up to something. Clearly, Starfleet had an issue with it, but engineer to engineer, as long as the stuff works, I don't care.
Before we get there, I'll make a request to Captain Tobor as to which of these ships have been completely read into Epsilon, so I don't accidentally spill anything. If he can provide that information.
Tobor?
Yeah, I'll confirm. Step into my ready room. Computer, initiate Epsilon protocol. Secure this room for conversation.
Good evening, Captain. Epsilon Protocol, engaged.
Good evening, DC. Lieutenant Tenari was just wanting to confirm who all amongst the Regional Operation Command has been read into the Epsilon protocol.
Of course.
Let's go ahead and do it this way. You're going through all the right things. You are asking all the right questions. We'll hand wave this and say which ships have been read in and which ships have not. It's not the entirety of the operations group who is and who is not. I also have to figure out who has.
It's safe to say if all of them are together, I don't need to be mentioning the Epsilon protocols. Gotcha. All right. And then I'll also put in the agenda for the meeting, also doing these upgrades for Asselin Station. So I'll probably send something to the engineering team at Asselin Station if they would need any help from our engineering teams for their upgrades.
Certainly. Yeah, the engineering crew at Asselin is more than happy, since everyone's going to be docked there anyway, more than happy to go ahead and use. There are computers on board that are designed for this purpose, that you can feed them in and that they will get deployed into the ship cores. You don't have to touch each ship individually anymore. It can just push a button and it goes out. So they're happy to go ahead and let you use the ship deployment computers to go ahead and do that.
We're also talking about us helping them with any physical modifications that need to be made.
Sure. What kind of physical modifications are we talking about? Obviously, that's the requisition process for physical modifications is significantly longer, but
I mean, if they need any extra hand, we're available to help now that we're docked, because some of these changes involve some physical modifications as well, especially since we're here and we're some of the people who've developed the changes.
Yep, understood. Totally. That sounds great. What sort of physical modifications do you need? Do we need to go ahead and install new sensor dispersers, or like what are we talking about?
I think we're getting it wrong here. I'm talking about us helping Asselin.
Agreed. No, I'm with you. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
I'm talking about the subspace shield modifications and the Epsilon sensors.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So the Epsilon sweep sensors that are on. So basically, because if I remember correctly, those co-opted the. What system did you build those into? It wasn't like the door system. It was you built them onto something that was already on the ship, but you reused it.
I have them on the ship. I know I have them on the external sensors, and we have the tricorders. I'm currently working on putting them on the internal sensors.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So it's just the internal sensor array. Okay, yeah. So that's you're not getting any resistance or anything to that. That's they were on Asselin Station. They get it. You know what I mean? They're more like, we just want to make sure if you're talking about like changing hardware, we want to make sure that we know what hardware you need. Assuming that this is a conversation that you're having ahead of time, so that they've got this, when you get, it's like we're a week out. If we need to fabricate new sensor hardware,
gotcha.
What are the specs on the new sensor hardware so we can fabricate that before you get here?
Yeah, I'll send them the fabrication files that we need.
Yeah, that's.
Also, I want to make sure they've got the kind of shields that if someone comes at them with the subspace weapons again, that they've got a defense.
Yep. Did that require hardware changes also, or was that strictly programming?
I think that's some hardware changes as well.
All right. So yeah, so they'd ask for the specification files so that they can go ahead and get that sent down to the fabrication lab and get that made ahead of time so that when you guys get there, all the hardware that you need to go ahead and install.
I don't think it's a complete replacement, but it's some pieces here and there.
Sure. Yep. Anytime you replace the motherboards and some of them, that kind of thing. Yeah. New memory modules because it's a little bit stronger, that sort of stuff. Yep.
Yeah.
No issues and no pushback on that front. Does using the station deployment computers, does that all seem to make sense? Like doing it all at once instead of touching the ships individually? Okay, cool. All right. You've got the patch files. You're starting to load them into the deployment systems. I'd like you please to give me, there's just not systems that you're necessarily familiar with. I like maybe like engineering and reason, or engineering, you know what, actually engineering and control, I think probably makes most sense since you're adjusting something on this front.
All right, control engineering is 15.
Yeah, I'll give you a 2 difficulty challenge on this. I like 2.
All right.
2s are good.
I'll go ahead and spend a threat to get an extra dice.
I like it.
I'll take procedural compliance to go ahead and get 1 success.
That's nice.
And then for the other 2 dice, I don't have any focuses that apply, but I got a 2 and an 8, so that's 3 successes total.
I like it. So you'll gain 1 momentum. Fantastic. Cool. Yeah, so you're starting to, again, these are maybe just not systems that you're necessarily familiar with, but you're familiar with them and conceptually to go ahead and do it.
Again, it's a station I've blown up before.
Exactly, right. Yeah, you know how to fix it. As you're loading your patch documents in to go ahead and start deploying the new software, assuming that at this point that teams are out working on the hardware, so you're basically loading software into the core so that when the new hardware comes online, that they'll be able to go ahead and do it. One of the engineers did message you as they were assigned to that work to ask if it's okay to shut the sensor array off before they start making the hardware changes, because they're worried about a shock, and they know that you said don't take anything offline this time, so they just want to make sure kind of what the parameters of that particular order were.
Yes, it's take the sensor array offline.
Okay, I just want to make sure that you're okay with that, sir, because I know you said don't take anything offline. But if we're going to be I've handled live sensor arrays while replacing them before. It's a shocking experience.
Let's just make sure there's at least 1 ship with a sensor array online at all times.
Got it. Okay, so we should oscillate. We'll do sensors and shields on. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair enough. Anyway, so as you're loading your patch into the deployment software, and as you're kind of playing with it and everything like that, you notice what looks like an unnecessary diagnostic step in the coding that handles the deployments. It looks like it's flagged out, so it's not even actively running, but it stood out to you because you rolled enough successes on the check. And so the line that's commented out says deployment regression execution module revision Thorn 197.
Let me look into that.
Yep. Do you want to start it?
I want to look it over first to see what it's meant to do.
All right. So just to get back up to speed from where we were, you had revealed this commented out diagnostic step, and you wanted to go ahead and investigate that. So talk to me about what investigating that looks like.
Let me try to shift it to another computer that's air-gapped from the station.
I like it. Yep.
And then run it.
Yep, fair enough. When you run it, without making any modifications to it, an error is produced when you run the diagnostic step. And as you're reading through the code, you realize it's because the code is looking for a specific file. It's expecting an input file. And the error that's produced is reference drift pattern unavailable. You got an extra momentum. Do you want to I will give you the choice of either using your momentum to look through the code and specifically find what it's looking for, or you can challenge again.
Let me spend the momentum.
I like it. So as you're looking through the code, it's that's weird. So it's looking for an import file. An input file. The object that it's looking for is object ID EBN-197-K.
Okay.
The fact that it's asking for a drift pattern, that's... Well, I don't know. What focuses do you have?
I have improvisation, warp field dynamics, transporters and replicators, computer, survival, composure, epsilon species detected.
Okay. You're not sure what a drift pattern is. That's not something that you're familiar with. That's not a normal computer deployment engineering thing.
Is drift pattern enough for me to maybe recognize it as a navigation thing?
I will certainly let you test for it. Do you have any navigation focuses? I guess first is the question. Doesn't sound like it.
I do have a con of 3.
Yep. So I will certainly let you roll for it, but you don't have a focus that would say, "Oh yeah, no, that's what that is." So if you wanted to make a con,
reason con, or insight con.
I think insight con makes sense to you on this one.
All right.
But again, without any sort of navigational focus, you know what? In fact, I'm going to go ahead and spend some of my threat here because I've got a bunch of it. I'm going to spend 3 threat to go ahead and give it increased complication range. So it's going to be, instead of just 20, it's going to be 18 to 20.
Okay.
Is it, how does refresh my memory here? How's the complication rate? Is it 1 for 1, or is it like spending threat momentum where it's like 1 for 1, 2 for the next one? Or is it 1 for 1?
No, it would either be 1 for 1 or generally a 2 for 1 because it's
Yeah.
like creating a complication on
All
the
right.
scene.
Yep. Hold on one sec. Let me actually look in the book then. Ugh, making me look it up.
Technically, you don't need to spend threat to set the complication range.
Sure.
It's just a GM call.
Yep.
But a lot of people have found making something more complicated for a unknown reason.
Yeah.
It's a reasonable spend of threat.
Yeah.
Yeah. There would definitely be a reason why trying to ascertain more about this file could be, why threat would be appropriate. And that's how, honestly, I mean, between you and me, that's always been the challenge that I've had with threat, is that I accumulate threat like nobody's business, and I very rarely throw it because it's just like narratively makes sense to go ahead and increase the complication range on that. Why do I need to spend my meta currency? But I am trying to go ahead and live more within the rules, like our Federation fleet captain. All right, hold on a second. Complication range.
Michael did say today he's reaching a new record for threat in this game.
I know, I saw that. Those are all talents. Complication range. Here we go. They are 1 for 1. So if I spend 3 threat, then your complication range starts at 17, Tanari.
Okay. So I will give you back a threat to get an extra dice.
I appreciate that.
And because this is looking at a diagnostic file, does my computer's focus count?
So that's the question that you were asking, though, is if you can figure out what it's looking for as a navigation piece, though. So because it's specifically, that's almost like why your computer focus doesn't work here, is because it's not a computer thing.
It was worth asking.
Yep, absolutely.
Wow, 2, 8, and 8, 3 successes.
Okay, there you go. You gain the momentum, and you didn't give me any additional threat. That's no fun. Where is the Tanari that I know and love?
I took him out back and replaced him with a clone.
Yeah, you are able to piece together that indeed the file that it's missing is, oddly, a navigation file, or at least for sure something that would be used in like stellar cartography.
All right. I will tap my comm badge, Nari to Luzon.
Hey, Lieutenant, what's up, man? Sorry, Lieutenant Commander, forgot you got the half pip.
No problem. Strangely enough, I've been working on some of these engineering issues with the station. I've come across a navigation question. You mind coming on down and taking a look at this?
Navigation question? I'll fly right on down there. That sounds fun.
I appreciate it.
Alrighty. See you in a flash. It takes him a few minutes because he is in no hurry to get there. He walks into the central deployment office and station and sorry, what's up? What can I do for you?
Yeah, I will show him the file. I will show him what I found out and see if he can help me with it.
And so again, specifically what the error is saying is that it's looking for that file and that file is missing. So
Correct.
just go ahead. Yeah. Oh, that's weird. Yeah. So drift patterns are like, and he'll go in like in the very loose-on explanation about what a drift pattern is, where it's looking over really strange distances. Time happens. You got to know where the stars are going and how to calibrate deep kind of vision looks for certain star patterns and stuff like that. It's something that, again, it's used in astronavigation, like deep field astronavigation and stellar cartography all the time when they have to go ahead and calibrate over long distances. Yeah, they're stored in files. But what's this do?
This file that I was running?
Yeah, no, yeah, the computery stuff. What's that do?
It's a diagnostic.
That's weird.
I found it when running through the shield and sensor upgrades.
Yeah, and specifically just to kind of give you some more context on that. So it is basically a regression diagnostic. So it's designed to accept an inputted file, run some things that don't actually seem to be involving it's not touching anything that you're inputting in it, just running on its own, but it accepts that inputted file and then produces a log file based on the inputted file. And the name of the file that it wants to be inputted is hard-coded, which would also be weird, because if it was a true regression, it's flagged as like a regression test, but if it was a true regression test, then that file name would be dynamic. It would not be statically coded in there. So it is looking for a particular file that gets run through this routine and then produces a file on the other side. Am I getting too technical? Does everyone understand what I'm saying here?
I'm getting enough of the basics.
Okay. All right. I want to make sure that the vacant looks are not Josh is talking mumbo jumbo that nobody's following.
So I'll look over Lusan's. Do you think we could do a search through the station's database for this file?
Sure, I guess so. That sounds like a control engineering check to me. In this particular case, I'm gonna keep it as a 2 difficulty challenge because again, you're dealing with some cloak and dagger here, so may not be where you expect.
And can I get Lusan to assist me?
Yeah, absolutely. Narila, why don't you roll for Lusan?
All right, so I will go ahead so I can get bold engineering. I'll drop another threat.
I like it.
Excellent. And then
back up to reversal limit. Appreciate that.
Then I'll use procedural compliance to get that 1 success already.
Okay.
And that's funny. A 1 and a 20. But I'll use bold engineering to re-roll the 20.
I like it.
That's a 10 and a 1. So total of 4 successes.
Okay. And your assistance, Nila?
Am I rolling 1 or 2?
Just 1 d20. Yep.
Okay. I rolled a 12. I don't have his numbers.
Let's see. Lusan's not a computer guy, so I'm guessing a 12 probably would not succeed, but let me see.
You're on mute, Joe.
If it was like Insight Con, 12 would probably work.
It is Insight Con, which is a 15. So he was doing a computer search, though. Nari, what did we say for you was reason?
Oh, control engineering.
Control engineering, which is an 11 for him. So the assistance does not meet. But you got 4 successes otherwise?
Yes.
That still brings you up 2 more threats. Cool. Yeah, you find that, so you're searching for the file and you're like looking in like the normal places and it's not where you would expect it to be. What you do find, however, is that there are some references to the file used throughout the station. It seems like this is not the only place where there is a diagnostic function or some sort of other computer function, which is, it's looking for this file in particular. One of them is the hydroponics lab, which has a reference to the file in one of its hydroponic bays. But you also see that the file was generated by a stellar cartography platform that is docked at the station at docking pylon 6.
What's that docking pylon 6 right now?
According to the registry, what's docked at docking platform 6 is the USS Penumbra.
But that platform is no longer there.
No, the platform is there.
Oh.
Sorry. That's a really good question, because I guess you would have to go to pylon number 6 to go ahead and see what is there. Because what the official ship registry says is there is the Penumbra. What was there, at least, was this observation platform. And the observation platform that generated this EBN file.
I'll look over Lusan and say, botany? Why would they use a drift file for botany?
I don't know. That's weird. Someone else in the deployment core hears you talking to Lusan and says, drift file? What are you talking about?
It's something I found, a file I found, a diagnostic I found in a corner of the computer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that thing never worked. We just commented it out. It would, every time we try to run it, it would break. So we just commented it out. We didn't want to remove it because in case like somebody needed it, but like, it just like, it never ran.
Do you know when it first appeared?
No.
It's just always been there?
Yeah, because you're dealing with 4 ensigns fresh out of the academy. There are no senior engineers in here.
Like someone's
not doing deployments.
Someone's stash of Klingon opera or something?
Exactly. Yeah. There's all sorts of stuff in the legacy code. Like this code's not exactly updated. It's already mature. Like it does its job. But yeah, anytime we uncommented that it's some sort of like regression module, anytime we uncommented it, it just caused the entire thing, caused deployments to fail, so we stopped running it. That seemed the right thing. Seemed the right thing to do. When regression tests fail, you stop running them, and then they fail. Then they succeed.
Yeah. All right. Tell me if this is too metagamey, but can I spend a momentum to remember where Narilla was going?
I'm going to say no, because specifically there was no senior staff meeting on the boat before we got to the station.
But let me just throw out this. I feel like Narilla and Tanari have a pretty close relationship and collaborate a lot. Probably she would have said in passing, I'm going to go check out X, Y, and Z. Maybe not specifically, but maybe.
I'm going to go with you on that one, because I can see Narilla saying, you suckers have work to do. I've got fun time. I'm going to go check out DNA plant science. I will let you spend the momentum to know that Narilla was going to the hydroponic lab.
Okay. Then send Lusan back to whatever bar he was at previously.
Yes, sir.
And I will...
He's making like airplane sounds as he flies out of the deployment center.
I will get on my comm badge to Lieutenant Marilla.
Yes, sir. What's up?
I was looking at some stuff here in the computer, and I found a unusual diagnostic subroutine. And it's looking for something called a drift pattern that the computer says might have been used in the hydroponics lab. I know you said you were going down there. Is there any way you can keep an eye out for it?
It is crazy that you're bringing this up, because I am just looking at that very thing right now.
Really? Can you look on the computer to see if you can find a file called EBN197K?
That's the exact one I found. I found that it was changed from another file, but yes, SRSTR235A was changed to EBN197K, and there's some weird irregularities with the timing of that change and how it affected the experiments they were on, and I was just trying to suss out what that means.
Okay. Hey, Josh, that subroutine, the diagnostic, is it of a size that I can just put it on a pad and go down to hydroponics?
Sure. Okay. You throw it on a memory stick or something, yeah.
Tell you what, let me get what I'm working on, put it on a pad, and I'll be down there in a couple minutes.
Great. I'll see you then. I'll wait for you.
Let me put it on a pad, turn off the Starfleet tooth or whatever they call it, so it doesn't spread.
Yep.
I'm going to tell the other guys that I'm running out to get something real quick.
I like it.
And head down to hydroponics.
Perfect. Thank you, Snari. Thank you, Narilla. We'll end scene there.